what has unfortunately transpired over the years is basically this: whites are not allowed to comment on black issues because this is what I've been told in the deep, dirty South. We ain't black. We can't understand. Inferring that we're not as intelligent as them over there on the left. Number one, I and anybody else has a right to comment on observable craziness. You don't need a political science degree. You don't need to have a college degree to make observations based on just watching what people do and saying, that ain't right. All my life, I've heard of white flight. I've heard of white racism and the KKK and the Jim Crow laws. The blacks pulled it down here in Georgia that when Governor Kemp wanted to clean up the voting problems and actually give us more times of early voting and stuff, he said people cannot campaign at the voting precincts, which I agree with. You should have made your mind up by then. And the leftists, with their shit circus, generated the same old lies that, Jim Crow laws, they don't want black people to vote. Please. They bust black people at New Orleans years ago. They made sure that they got out and voted. Nobody's denying their right. In fact, here in Georgia, one of my black female friends said, Mike, they're paying me good money an hour. I'm going to go from house to house and encourage the black vote. And I said, would they hire me? She said, probably not, because you're not black. I said, isn't that discrimination? She started laughing. She goes, shut up, man. But you know what? We agree to disagree, but I make a point. Let white people get paid to go out and encourage the white vote, and it will automatically be branded as racism. Okay, so we talk about free speech. Lily is a YouTube artist. I know nothing about her. I saw her doing some sort of cooking gig, and it's blown up all over the internet that she said the N-word. Number one, Pacific doesn't use the word. I didn't grow up using it. It's not a word I want to use. As many of you know, I drove school buses for 20 plus years. And when I moved to the dirty South, and specifically where I'm at, the black students are calling each other this word all day. Shut up, N-word. What you talking about, N-word? I said, man, y'all need to stop. Denver, Colorado, I was seating the middle school students. I was at a middle school, and we had such problems on the route. I'd have all the girls in the back and the boys in the front because the boys like to tear up all the seats and throw things out the window. So I had the girls in the back half, and one black girl yelled the N-word, and somebody said, whoa, 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 that's not okay. We don't use that word. She goes, no, it's okay. I'm black, master. I said, but if a white guy says that you're ready to throw down, she goes, well, yeah, it's racism. I said, how does that work? Explain to me in this bus that you just yelled that out, how that works. Because the N-word is a racial epithet. And it's okay for you to fling it around. But if a white person says it's not okay. I live in one of the dumbest counties in the state of Georgia. I live in one of the dumbest counties in the state of Georgia. Not a lot of intelligence here. I'm going to lay it out. These people don't know how to frickin' drive. They don't know how to follow traffic laws. In fact, they do everything they can to break the rules. In my workplace, on the roads. And I have many black friends, male and female. I got female friends. We go to lunch together. We shoot pool together. We'll call on the phone and BS together. This isn't a racist man. I grew up in Los Angeles in the era of the Watts riots, Vietnam and the hippies and the unshaven underarm women with the bra burning and the drug culture and the Jimi Hendrix. I'm no stranger to crapola. But my views really, really, really don't do well in the African American community because with me, they got a rogue wild card and they don't know how to deal with it. When I go to work, I don't bring up this stuff. And I told a female at work the other day who called me to talk about some things going on. And I said, look, you don't understand something. Your community focuses on one color only. And what you don't see is some of the way that I've been treated in my workplace, the favoritism that's shown your color, the bad behavior by many of your race that don't get reprimanded, written up, suspended, or fired, like stealing hours from the company, claiming 80 hours in 4 days when you didn't work anywhere near that. I was doing a video one day years ago, and a coworker said, "You're not black. You don't understand." And I called her out by name on the live video, and I said, "I'm going to take you to task on that. I can come to a place and make absolutely unbiased observations." So Lily now is under fire because she used the N word. I don't think anybody should use it. I think it's trashy and I think it's ghetto to even use it. I don't use the word. I don't like the word. But I've got a problem, and Pacific doesn't leave things alone. When I was driving a school bus and I heard a bunch of boys yelling that word on a high school route, they were completely disrespectful. They were using foul language and yelling at the administrators coming out of the school while they were loading the bus. I actually was riding on that bus one day in the back. I was asked to assist because the black female driver was having a problem with those kids. The utter contempt, hatred, and disrespect. They were yelling at a white administrator coming out of the building, a female saying a fat ass, and then they were yelling, "What up, Nigger?" And I said, why do you guys, I got a question for y'all. What's that, man? Why y'all use that word? The white guy says you were throwing. Well, yeah, when a white guy uses racism. I said, and this here is different. And the one kid said, well, yeah, it's because your people. I said, my people? I said, do you know who I am? Do you know what my ethnicity is? I said, I'm Irish. Do you know anything about the Irish? Irish were slaves in this country. Did you know that? No, sir, I did not. I said, what color is my skin? I said, let's do this test. What color is my skin? That don't look like white. Now I've done the color testing and I aced it. Looks pretty red to me. I said, in fact, let's grab that piece of paper and hold up to your skin. Actually, let me grab my black belt. Let me grab that black notebook and hold up to your skin. Skin's more brown, isn't it? You see how you guys have been duped into being in a box? You're not black. I've met very few black people in my life. I've met some coal black men and women from Nigeria. And they are truly coal black. Black as this laptop. When you guys talk about things, you might want to sound a little more intellectual. I'm not white. I'm Irish. And we're a ruddy complexion. I'm more reddish. And if you're going to sit there and throw everybody into a white box, you show a lack of intellectual thinking. We Irish have been through our own stuff. Jewish people have been through more racism than anybody, and you don't hear them running around playing victim, sue, and screaming at society. And I've noticed since I've been here, and I have actually boldly made the statement, Black people and white people do not think the same. By white, I'm meaning Caucasian, which consists of German, Austrian, British, French, Spaniards, Czechoslovakian, Hungarians, Polish, Russian. We're all under that big umbrella. But tell Black people this. Ireland and Russians have very little in common. Russians and Austrians have very little in common. Austrians and Czechs have very little in common. Poland, they are unique cultures. And Blacks show ignorance when they blanket statement us as whites. I've met Polish. I've met Hungarian. I've met people from Switzerland. Sure, we're under the same umbrella, Caucasian. And I think every job ad in the US needs to stop putting your race. I think that's crap. Quotas, discrimination against us, by the way, blacks. It is turned full reverse. I feel like putting other. You remember the commercial years ago, Think Outside the Bun. It was crafted by Taco Bell, taking a shot at McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Jack in the Box, because everything's on a bun. And they got tacos and frijoles and burritos and stuff like that. Well, I think outside the box. And though I don't condone Lily saying that word, the backlash and the outcry, and some black woman on some TV show said, "Oh," and smiling and eating it up, that she got backlash. It's amazing how fragile African American women and men are. They're loud and they want to speak tough and intimidate. I see it in the workplace. You're not allowed to correct them. You're not allowed to tell them anything. The term they use out here is stay in your lane. Yesterday, I had pulled up at a light. There's a lot of cross traffic. When it's clear, I make a right turn. Some homeboys pulled up next to me, and I was looking to the left because a semi truck was rolling from my left, and cars, for whatever reason, were going slow. Then I hear the guy behind me go, "Oh, what the hell is that?" And I look up, oh, the light turned green. And I did. My Trump sticker on my back window, and I went like this, windows tinted, but they clearly saw that. And I turned the corner and I drove up the speed limit. Of course, they wanted to get alongside of me, and as soon as they did, I faced them and I went. Both of them were doing this, and I went again, and I drove the speed limit. Semi truck started drifting from the center lane into their lane, and they backed off, put their signal on, got behind me, and I thought, follow me to my house. I'll fly out of this truck so fast. One thing whites need to learn is don't be intimidated by these people. That needs to stop. White flight should have never happened. Whites should have made their stand, stayed where they are, and let them move in. But we should stand and address problems. You want to bring in drugs? You want to tear up and down the neighborhood? No, you're not going to do it. And we've created a giant vacuum where the blacks live over here and the whites live over here, and you don't go in that neighborhood. Well, guess what? I live with the homeboys. I'm one of the few people on my street that takes such pride in my property. I bought a wreck of a place, and I've had to do a major remodel, still 4 years later working on it. And I'm not going to get into the crap that I see just in my neighborhood. The drug house 2 doors down, teens with pistols and sidearms, smoking pot. Somebody came by the house the other day and unloaded 12 to 15 rounds into the brick. And when I with my roommate, went to go downtown to shoot pool, the whole street was blocked off. I had to go an opposite way to get out. They were there for 5 hours, cops. They never caught anybody. And I live in a crucible where I know they look at me. I got that 3-pound chain around my neck, and black people come up. Why you wear that chain? I feel like saying, why you just walk up to somebody you don't know and ask them a question like that? I see different stuff all the time. I don't walk up to somebody and say, why you got that on? They're very bold and intrusive. I look them right in the eye and said, because I like it. Oh, okay. Is that heavy? About 3 pounds. Dang. The inference is, why is a white guy wearing chainers around his neck? Only we can do that. No. Pacific does what Pacific wants to do. But the boys got behind me. They didn't turn off on my street. I don't engage in road rage and play chase. I didn't roll down the window and yell. And I don't know what went through their mind. But yes, because of what I've been through in life, I think, oh, yeah, they're going to play toughy and follow me and get out and start yelling. And I was expecting that I'm going to pull right over to my yard. I'm going to fly out of that truck. I'm going to stand on my right in my yard and say, how can I help you boys today? Whites don't need to live in fear when we're in the right. As blacks say, stay in your lane, I did. You want to honk at me when I didn't see the light fast enough, and y'all pull out in front of me and you go 10 miles an hour and I don't honk? Get off my ass, people. You don't know how to drive down here. And I'm a good driver and I'm a conscientious driver. And I didn't catch the light quick enough because I was looking to my left. All you had to do was go bump, bump. I see it here. The black women, the light turns green, the turn arrow's got zero point 0.1 second, and they're piddling around. I'll hesitate, and then I'll go bump, bump. Oh, green. Holding the horn down, yeah, that's going to piss people off. I felt good about it. Now that I'm not going to show fear. I looked right at the window. I didn't do all this. I just looked. They saw my long hair. They saw that chain. They saw that Trump sticker and thought, oh, shit. They make stereotypes too. Oh, he'll probably shoot us. He's a Trump guy. No, I don't roll that way. I stay in my lane, but I'm going to stand my ground. That's Georgia. Stand your ground. But Lily said the N word, and everybody's reeling and in a tizzy over it. The hypocrisy of the black community and throwing that word out every day and getting mad when a white person uses it is ridiculous. What about freedom of speech? Somebody brought that up. I got the freedom of speech. Have you listened? There was a black woman arrested the other day who was suspended license, totally uncooperative with the police. You see this. They said, put your hands up. Do you have a license? What do I need to give you my license? And they think they're so bold, and so they end up getting arrested, and they yell racism, racism. It's like Pavlov's dog. The bell rings, dog salivates, knows it's going to get a treat. Any interaction that has to be corrective, whites to blacks, is automatically racism. And I see it in my workplace. I've had to tell the workers, you can't do these things on the job. You cannot. It's not okay. Why doesn't Lily have the right to free speech just as much as blacks do, calling us honkies, white boys, making blanket false statements that we're privileged, that we're all KKK, systemic racism? The Democrats love pandemic and systemic. They like emic words. They threw that out all 2020. And I posted a picture on my thumbnail, showed George Floyd on a bench, the statue, and Trump. And Trump says, you got a problem with me being a felon, but you wanted to make a hero out of this felon. I love people to make memes because it just like turns on the light. George Floyd was a despicable human being. And the media and the left and the black community was sheepled into believing. The original coroner's report was very clear on how he died. But when black people get a taste for blood, meaning, oh, it's racism, it was a white cop put a knee in the back. It's all they need. That's it. Truth no longer applies. Cops can't pull over a black person now because it's just going to automatically be charges of racism. We got a 13% minority in the population of the US that can do and say whatever they want, and fuck be damned. The rest of us got to shut up and live in fear and keep our mouth shut. Guess what I say to that? Double digits, baby. I'm going to speak just as you feel bold enough to speak. And if you're going to come up and say something to me, expect Pacific Ocean superliner to turn the deck guns your direction. And I'm going to put you on blast with truth. White people need to speak up. White people need to be bold as a lion. These people aren't afraid to riot, burn shit down, get up in your face, shoot each other, shoot their own kind. In the place I live, in 2 years, a city of less than 200,000, 150 people have been shot and killed, mostly blacks. In the last month, we have had a 15-year-old shoot and kill a 14-year-old in the apartments not too far from me. What are these teen blacks doing with guns? Killing other kids. Kids showing up at the local high school for the Georgia Milestones test, and the teacher hears a phone go off in a book bag, and they're told not to bring book bags on testing day. They don't want cheating. Teacher goes to unzip the book bag, turn off the phone. There's a handgun in there. Oops, at a high school. When I was driving the bus, I often wonder how many of these kids are carrying heat that are getting on my bus. Probably quite a few. Black man followed his wife. They were separated. Downtown, she stopped at the light. He started firing at her. She wasn't real bright. She got up out of the car, stood up, walked towards his truck, and he dropped her in the street. He took off to a local park and shot himself. And while they were investigating that, there was a 46-year-old black woman dead in a car sitting in the same park for several days. It was a park I used to go to. Not now. Not no more. Too much killing over there. The nightclub I go to, right at the corner, black guys shooting at the windows, shooting at crowds. Several were injured. One was shot at. 2 arrests were made. A black woman at a mall got into an altercation with some black guy, started shooting in one of the anchor department stores, missed hitting an older female, and everybody took off. And they were all rounded up. Last summer, a black woman was the getaway driver for a guy that whacked an 80-year-old woman going out to her car, stole her purse. And let me say something to the black community. You knocking up older women, you are truly the definition of a pussy. They come up and down my street and every street in this town with their offensive, sensible, jarring, unsensible, jarring music. Not music, but noise. With the N-word. With the F-word. Move out the way, B. Move out the way. I'm riding with my homies. N-word, 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 N-word. No outcry. And I don't see things the way they see things, because the way they see things, their vision is not 2020. Rodney King going 110 miles an hour the wrong way on LA freeways is perfectly acceptable with the black community. If Rodney King had hit me in my truck and killed me, would there have been an outcry from the black community? They don't care about a white death or an Asian or a Hispanic. But when the cops, loaded up on adrenaline, stepped out of professionalism and let their emotions dictate, the blacks burned down South Central, spray-painted Korean shop owners who were the only ones brave enough to go into their neighborhoods and sell them products. The fire department came with their trucks to put out fires, and the blacks were shooting at the rigs. The blacks are very angry in Chicago and other areas where Walmart said, fuck it. There's so much theft, we're pulling our stores. Oh, this is racism. No, it's called survival. Millions of dollars of theft. They had a black woman go into Chicago filming the looting. She went down aisle after aisle, ransacked. She went to the produce section, nothing was touched, and she started to cry. She goes, oh my gosh, they didn't even take the vegetables and fruits. I said, yeah, they don't want to eat, right? They eat all that crap, all the chips, all the candy bars, all the alcohol, everything else was gone. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the demonicness of the devil in the Democrat Party and Gavin Newsom heading up a state where $900 of theft is allowed in San Francisco, LA, and all through the state before the cops will respond. Whoever came up with that brilliance was a special kind of dumb. But Lily, why should she be crucified for saying a word that the blacks freely use? The hypocrisy of the black community needs to stop and check themselves. If you don't want people using it, you might want to model not using it yourself. And if you're so fragile that somebody says that, have you listened to the shit you say about our race? Why is that okay? Why is it get revenge time? This young generation didn't go through sharecropping. And I worked with a guy this summer. His dad was a sharecropper. And I've talked to him and he told me what it was like for him. He's not some angry guy yelling racism. He's a Christian man. He's a genteel, well-raised man. And a woman left a comment on a video that I did the other day saying, you talk about black older people. Well, yeah, they're nice because they're under the control of whites. Excuse me, the black society in America is not under control of whites. I don't know where people pull this. They pull it out of their butt cheeks. They're either in control of themselves or they're not. There is no more fear of the white community. I work with blacks. They are not afraid of us. And I've said this over. Whites are more afraid of blacks than blacks are of whites. That's a fact. That's provable in every major city. There were blacks that were raised right. And I love to bring this up because it's very entertaining. You ever notice the Asian community acting up in the US? They got their own neighborhoods, they got their own businesses, family run. People go to their businesses, they like Asian food, their stores and shops. Do you see them taking the streets and rioting and tearing everything up and killing each other? You don't. Blacks even accuse Asians of being racist. No, Asians are just smart. They sit back and watch this. Just like when I lived in Hong Kong and a marine engineer who sailed regularly from Hong Kong on cargo ships to San Francisco said, Pacific, what is wrong with the black people in your country? And I laughed. I said, oh, you see that too? He says, they riot, they tear stuff up. You know, they do that here. And I tell this story all the time. Big black guy was standing out of business on the Kowloon side of Hong Kong. And the business was attracting a lot of attention. And Chinese are known for photo. They walk across the street, take a picture of the building and the window and the display, and the black guys grabbing their cameras and shoving Chinese people around. You can't take pictures of this. Number one, it's not illegal to take photos of stuff in Hong Kong. Number two, what the hell is a black man telling Chinese people what to do in a Chinese country? Oops. And the backlash was immediate. In the Hong Kong paper, the Chinese showed up full force, said, who do you think you are? I got news for the black community. The Asian community is not fond of you either. Go over there and act up. They'll shut your ass down and put you in a basket. Go ahead. Try. They've watched. They see. And we all know that the Democrats were silent about social distancing and mask mandates when the blacks stood up and rioted. Not a word from Maxine Waters. You want to talk about a hypocritical, nasty ASS female. She's not pretty. She wasn't gifted with good looks. She can't speak clearly. She looks like she's half in the bag. And she stands up and told people in 2020, you need to get up in their faces. She was inciting violent, aggressive behavior. Not one word about her being told she needs to be kicked out of the House or the Senate or whatever she's in. Let a white guy stand up and say, we need to get up in the face of the black community. Well, I'll say it. We don't need to get up in their face, but when they push, we need to push back and say, okay, this racism stuff's going to come to an end. When you act like a fool, expect feedback. When you come through a neighborhood and do urban assault terrorism with your offensive music and you refuse to turn it down and shake the walls of people's house, they have a right to get upset. We pay taxes on our house, okay? And you drive up and down with your advertising the whole world that you're THUG. Your music sucks, your disrespect sucks, and no one's allowed to say anything. Everything we say is racist. Let me go through your neighborhood and play Yankee Doodle Dandy on blast and see if you enjoy that. How about if I put on conservative talk radio so loud that you can't sleep? Had a problem with some clown in the neighborhood here who was the only one making the most noise. Got out of prison, living in the car, doing drug deals, bringing all his buddies with Crown Vics. It's funny, they hate the police, but they all buy up them Crown Vics. They put more money in the rims and speakers than anything else. Trunk, hood, all four doors open. Oh, it's open house over there. And you hear this crappy and you just want to stand there and go, what is that shit that you're listening to? And yet, you go to Africa, and there's a tribe called the Himba tribe. I'm sorry, I'm a red-blooded male. There's some cute black women over there, and they walk around topless. I'm thinking, you know what? I'd kind of like to join that community. And guess what? None of this jungle under there and stink. That culture of people is nomadic. They put some red clay in their hair. They do not use water to bathe, and yet they're clean and smell good. And the women believe in being clean and smell good. And the tribal leader, if I go to visit him, will offer me his wife. And I'd be polite and say, not your wife. How about one of these single young ladies? You know, an adult. Got to clarify that. There are black women that like me, that are pretty, that are attractive, good hygiene, good workers. But even where I live, and it doesn't matter where I go in the US, out of 43 million blacks, and my observations have been pretty accurate, the majority of that 43 million is what gets the attention, the bad ones. And percentile wise, there's more bad ones than good. I watch videos on YouTube where a black woman's being, I need you to put your hands up where I can see them. And they do everything they can to not follow a directive. I saw it when I was a bus driver. It's like ingrained in their warp and woof that if a white person tells me something, I ain't going to do what they tell me. Then they get shot, maced, arrested, when all you had to do was comply. I had to cover a route several years ago, and the middle schoolers, all of them bigger than me, said, why we got to have this white boy driving our bus? And I stood up and I said, because white boy is the only one that's going to drive your bus because your driver isn't here and I'm qualified. Got racism? Sit down, ride the bus, and act right. There won't be any issue. The threats, the hostility, the hatred. When kids are acting up on a high school route and I walk back because I smell them lighting up pot. And I don't accuse unless I see. And I walk down the aisle and I'm sniffing. No, I don't lean over and go, I walk and I'm like, I walk back. Mister, why are you walking back here? I say, because I'm responsible for the bus and I smell dope and I've asked you guys not to do it on the bus. Why are you accusing? I said, did I accuse you? Somebody is, and you know who that is, and you don't like to snitch. A black girl who would laugh like a hyena and had BO that didn't quit would laugh like a hyena and says, just drive the fucking bus. I whirled around and said, excuse me, you can move to the front. Oh my fucking God. I said, who is your God, lady? Move up to the front of the bus. You're not going to talk to me like that. My job is to keep order on this bus, and I have a right to walk down this aisle. Nobody owns this territory. It's a public school bus. These kids are taught to hate, to question, to get up in people's face and find the microscopic minutia of anything I or anybody else in authority did wrong, never themselves. George Floyd did not comply. George Floyd was in the back of the cop car laying on the floor saying, I can't breathe, long before Chauvin's knee was in his back. But we didn't see that video because CNN being the reputable, MSNBC being the reputable, just get at the truth organizations that they are not, showed the video of knee on neck or back. I can't breathe. The press knows the power of suggestion. And that's all it took was to light the match. You see, the media didn't like the fact that Americans were growing disenfranchised and questioning Mr. Fauci and his draconian lockdowns. They needed a diversion, and it worked. The black people were the sheep of sheeple when it came to COVID-19, masked up, social distance. I was in line to vote with my black female friend. We both had our masks on. My friend, she's funny. She has a sense of humor. And we were social distance in line, and she didn't get right up against the black man, but the guy turned and started screaming at her. I lost members of my family to COVID-19 and you need to keep your distance. She goes, I'm sorry, it was an accident. He continued to, I said, ma'am, I said, sir, did you hear her? She apologized. Then he shut the fuck up. They're nasty to their own people. I'm not going to go on and fill endless space of the shit that I've seen in the black community everywhere I've lived. Down here, it is concentrated. 53% black, 35% white, and the blacks down here scream about racism. The whites are not in control of this city. The blacks are. Corrupt mayors that got their hand in the cookie jar, bought a car on the city bill for themselves, all kinds of shit like that. And they say, get out the black vote. Get out the black vote. Got racism. It's funny how they can get away with blanket statements against whites and white privilege and white this, and we don't want a white bus driver, and oh, that white teacher. You know, everything is always about racism with the majority of them. Even me, who's had years of experience with working with youth, and I have to go to a black principal, and I explained to her what's going on. And I said, yeah, I asked the student to sit down, and he accused me of being racist. She doesn't want to hear me say that. She doesn't want to hear me say that because they don't believe that they're guilty of it. God brought me here for a reason. I never knowingly, willingly would have moved into the middle of this kind of a shitstorm. But it gives me the authority and the experience to speak out and give feedback right back to that black community that's sitting there, want about my race. They can't even get my color straight. I would say, did you pass the color test? I've done this with students on the bus. Which is white? They'll laugh nervously and point to the school collegiate ruled notebook paper. I said, okay, so what is this? White. I said, Do we need to do this again? Which is white? That. So what color is this? Well, it's kind of pinkish red. I said, okay. So you want to call me white? I'm not white. Caucasian is the umbrella term for me, but I'm Irish. What's Irish? It's a race of people. There is no such thing as an African American. That's a term coined here. And they like to say that. So I started answering them. I'm Irish American. Oh, were you born in Ireland? No. Well, how can you be Irish American? I said, I'm Irish and I was born in America. Well, you can't. Well, neither can you say you're African American because you were not born in Africa. In fact, you have absolutely nothing in common with the Africans that are my friends in the social media. Nothing. Nothing. You have a bloodline that's been lost through the ages. There's an African woman in Zambia several years ago offered to sponsor me for visa, wanted to marry me. She's a teacher, works under the Department of Ministry of Agriculture. The education system is under that. You got a beautiful teen daughter and a beautiful teen son. I think they're both adults now. She had a beautiful stone house with a tin roof, beautiful furnishings, owned a farm. I said, you can't visa me. She goes, oh, yes, I can. I liked her as a friend. I didn't feel that attraction, that would go into, I want to marry her. And people ask me all the time, would you live in Africa? Hell, yes. Would I go to Cape Town? No. Would I go to Nigeria? No. The government's seizing people's houses. There's some problems. Would I go to Kenya, Zambia? Absolutely. So Michael doesn't have a problem with color. Michael has a problem with a mentality, wrong beliefs. And the Black community has been governed by this for decades. And when you have a Candace Owens or you have a Ben Carson or you have any number of Blacks that Brexit the sheeple mentality of the Black Democrat left, they're branded as Oreos. I know a woman I work with, Black woman said, her mother said, you voted for Trump? I should have thrown you in front of a car. Nice, huh? So much for freedom of thought and freedom to vote as you wish. I've seen it here. I went down to the polls for early voting one day and it was headed up by Black people downtown. And boy, did I get the dirty looks. Excuse me, what are you here for? I said, early voting. Where do you live? I gave my address. She goes, this is only for this precinct. I said, okay, I didn't know that. Oh, I get it. They don't want a white guy walking in here voting because they already make an assumption I'm not going to vote in for them. You damn right. And the older I get, I'm going to vote for conservative and that's it. And I've started telling people, vote these Black people out that are leftist, liberals, white racists or racist against whites. Get them out. The Black people, they have two rules. Rule number one, whites are racist. Rule number two, if a white man is not racist, go back to rule number one. It's in their warp and woof. But let's talk to Black women. Some that would rather date me than their own Black kind because Black men in 75 percentile numbers use Black women as a cum dump. That's something that whites should talk about. Because Black men like to posture and peacock, put on that offensive, jarring shit that they play out of their cars and do urban assault. The police won't touch them because they're scared shitless of being accused of being racist. There used to be noise ordinances, but they're folding. Nobody wants to offend the Blacks. But a white woman in a YouTube or a, social media, TikTok, whatever, says the N-word, and the fragile Black community is all pissed about it. Message to the Black community: when you stop saying the word, then you have a right to expect others to stop saying it. You were set free from the Jim Crow laws. You were set free from being harassed by the KKK. You were allowed to vote. You were allowed to be presidents and governors and mayors and teachers and airline pilots too. Why are you using the word? And your rationale for using it is nothing short of ghetto, ignorant. You want to get mad that a white woman uses it? You hypocrites. Remove the fucking beam from your own eye to strain at the gnat over here. And Black America needs to be challenged, not by other Blacks, but by people like me to say, no, you need to stop and think. You don't want people to look at you a certain way, then stop acting a certain way. You don't have a culture. You have a culture of moral rot, decay, and wrong thinking. The Black friends that I have class over there in Africa. You might want to emulate that. They know 3 languages. They're very smart. They've got their own beautiful homes, jobs, respectful children. I told Mabel in Kasama, Zambia, she said, I told her about the way the kids act down here. Oh, no, Michael, that would not be allowed here. I told her about the language, the up in your face. She said, what is wrong with the people over there? I said, oh, they think everybody's racist. Blacks getting butthurt because somebody said the N-word. But the Blacks sing it, shout it, say it all freaking day. And they hold up as heroes Michael Jackson, Tupac, Prince, Snoop Dogg. None of them examples to follow. None. Do I like some of Jackson's music? Yeah. Do I like Tupac or Snoop? Nope. Not my cup of tea. And I don't have to. You got DJs downtown, the Black DJs, all they play is Black music. In crowds where there's 50 to 75% white, they won't even play other stuff. I got Blacks that I work with. They only listen to Black music. They only listen to Black speakers. When I walk into the room, many of them will not greet me, or they'll use a different tone with me. But a Black person, oh, hey. They favor their own race. I'm a minority in my workplace, big time. The work ethic is piss poor. I see it every freaking day. I work harder than most of them. And I'm getting sick of this. The Blacks, everything has to revolve around racism and inequality. They're waiting for the opportunity to burn, loot, pillage, destroy, and accuse. Blacks calling themselves Christians and voting Democrat, supporting abortion, supporting gay marriage, supporting a party that's calling us racist. There's Black women I know that have told me to my face, oh, I'm voting for Trump. I get it. I see it. But they can't go vocal with that. They'll get harassed. So Lily said the N-word. Meh. And we need to start holding accountable the behavior of Blacks. They want reparations. Oklahoma said no. Good for them. Gavin Newsom, the forever obtuse liberal. And let me tell you, if he runs for president, this country's in deep shit because they'll vote him in. And he'll make a federal ban on all gas-powered and diesel engines. You watch. He's already done it in the state of California. But he's putting forth legislation for reparations for the Blacks. Why are we having to pay these young jerks for something their forefathers went through? That doesn't make any sense. How do you repay the wrongs done to people that are dead and gone? That's a bunch of foolishness. The last thing we should do is give these young entitled brats anything but a swift kick in the ass. Disrespectful. You cannot reason with blacks that are indoctrinated into the funk that they're indoctrinated in. They are a cult, like the Mormons. Mormons will say, if you want to know what a Mormon believes, ask a Mormon. Well, that's not entirely accurate. Jehovah's Witnesses, Democrats, atheists. Atheists like to do circular rationale. There is no God. Prove it. Prove that there is. He already did. His name is Jesus. He said, I am. The Jews picked up stones to stone him. You don't choose to believe in the evidence. Atheists get pissed off about a nativity scene on a courthouse lawn. It sends them into a tailspin. I don't care if there's a nativity scene or not. It's religious iconography. I don't need it. I can still pray and talk freely to God, and the atheists can't stop it. I can read the Bible, and they can't stop it. People want to get worked up over a bunch of bric-a-brac on a courthouse lawn. Both of them are silly. But the black community voting Democrat saying, get out the black vote. Listen to what they said, the BLM. We need a place of our own where there's no whites. You can go back to Africa. You got plenty of places where that exists, but no, they don't want to go back there. Even Ghana, the president said, we will welcome blacks that want to come here. They didn't take them up on it. It's funny, they talk a lot of shit about our race, but they love to stay here and get the benefits, don't they? The black community ignores a glaring fact that blacks from Africa relish the idea of becoming Americans. If they thought we were so racist and so bad, do you think they'd want to come here? But not just blacks, brown-skinned people all over the world want a chance to be an American and have what we have. We got a group of people that are malcontents, riot, they don't get their way, they tear up everything, and virtually nothing happens to them. The police forces all around the country were told to back up and do nothing. That's stupid. They're lucky I'm not president, because I would put legislation that people that want to riot, they will be shot to kill. We're done. That's not peaceful protest. We're going to define a protest, and there's going to be rules about a protest, and destruction of property, blocking roads and intersections. Nope, not going to do it. You want to act ghetto? You deserve to die like a ghetto man and go down in flames. This country's been hijacked by a 13% group of people whose crime stats are not in their favor. This country's been hijacked, and everybody has to always be sensitive to the fragile black community, even though they're just the minority population in the whole U.S., but cause the most problems. And the damage they've done since the civil rights era far outweighs anything that we owe the slaves, which were far less in number than the 43 million that exist today. Boom. And we want to go vis a vis. Let's do it. Black Lives Matter, my ass. Blacks really believe that, don't they? Black lives really matter when it comes to black men schmoozing, hustling their women, getting them to have sex. And when the kid comes up, well, gotta go. Black men don't care about their children. The bulk majority of them, not all, and they walk right out of their lives and they hand the baton of irresponsible behavior to another black boy who grows up. Not going to listen to a bus driver because he don't like dad. I ain't going to listen to no man. I'm the man in my house. And you got a generation of black boys raised by black women that you see yelling and screaming and threatening to sue. And instead of the balance of a man or a woman in the family, you got black males being raised by emotional thinking And these black boys, in turn, when they don't like somebody, instead of having reasoning skills like a man was given, know when to walk away and know when to run. I'm going to shoot you and I'm going to kill you. That's their response. That's what happens when you're raised by a ghetto acting, immature, emotionally driven, thinking female. You don't raise good black boys with critical thinking skills. Say, you know what? I don't agree with that guy. I'm going to remove myself from his presence. No, I'm going to shoot him. The black community wields an incredible amount of fear over whites in a neighborhood. You go up and ask somebody across the street, can you turn that stuff down? You're shaking the walls of my house. You cannot reason with people like that. And to the black community that's offended by the N-word, I'm offended by it too. So stop saying it, homies. Shut up and start modeling what you want from the rest of us before you criticize our race. Black men, start loving your black women instead of dumping them in the 75% category. That's bad. Don't talk about whites until you start following traffic laws and behave out there. Don't start talking about justice when you don't model right behavior. Snoop Dogg and clowns on the left are your heroes. James LeBron crying about racism while he lives in a white enclave protected by police. Oh, police. Oprah Winfrey, Maxine Waters with a wall and cameras and bars around her house and gates, but she's against a wall for the illegals. Okay, then tear down your wall, baby. When a couple in St. Louis has black and white people surrounding their mansion, broke a wrought iron gate, came onto their property and threatened to shoot them, burn their house down, and burn their dog. They stood out there with their guns and they didn't shoot at anybody. And they said, don't come up here. And a black DA in St. Louis went after them. Then a Republican governor gave them a full pardon. Go walk up and surround a black man's house and see if the same thing will happen if he pulls out a gun and drops me. There is a two-tier justice system. Blacks get away with shit, whites do not. That's a fact. And they want to talk about all these racist police. Let's talk about the cargo ship after cargo shipload of evidence of cops being shot, following protocol, doing their job to the letter of the law, shot by blacks and killed. Cop lives matters, not to blacks. I've had enough of the bullshit from the black community. Has anybody else? They need to shut the fuck up. And they need to stop saying the shit they're saying until they can clean up their cat box, which is full of cat turds all day long. You're not teaching your children respect. You got grown women teaching their daughters to listen to Wet Ass Pussy by Cardi B. Where's the morals in that? Using profanity and foul language in front of your little kids, watching violent stuff, encouraging bad behavior, living on food stamps or EBT cards and on the system, and encouraging young black males that are stronger than me naturally to smoke pot and do nothing but be a drag to society and intimidate anybody that dares to say, hey, don't come down my street driving like that no more. You see, we're not allowed to correct them. We're not allowed to take them on. But they can upset the apple cart anytime. I could care less about Lily saying the N-word. I could care less. The blacks say it all day, every day, and they need to stop. I don't even watch Lily's channel. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I'm into raw commentary. But I'm going to defend Lily's right to free speech, which blacks seem to utter anything they want. They can come up to me when I was driving bus, say, fuck you. And nothing happens. By school districts that cave and crumble out of fear. When a girl's beating the shit out of people on the bus I'm running, and, well, I can't kick her off because mom doesn't have a car. And I said, so what? Make her walk. We cater and coddle to the black community. Police have backed up. They don't want to deal with it until there's a murder. And blacks will call me ignorant and racist, which just affirms everything I'm saying is true. Oh, I don't understand. Oh, I understand. Victims are us. I don't see white people doing a damn thing to you. I see them trying to avoid like fuck any controversy, any argument, any negative situation. You? Nah. You light the match next to a can of gas and wait for it to blow. You're all butthurt over Lily saying the N word. Get over your damn selves and stop saying the N word, black community. Stop using the N word. Start modeling what you like. You want respect, then you got to give it, and stop using it in your music, and stop teaching it to your children, and stop calling your little boy when he acts up that. Yeah, stop that. Don't talk about us. You need to clean up your cat box because it's full of stinky pee and poo. Clean up your backyard. I'm done. There's nothing else that needs to be said.